Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful day. Thank you for our friends, classmates, and family. Thank you for this English class. We guide our speaker today, Miss Tanya Lopez, as she enlightens us more about play production. And may we put to mind whatever we may learn today. Amen. Saint John Baptist, Nelson.
Pray for us.
With Jesus in our hearts.
Forever.
Amen.
Now let them sit down.
You may be seated. Good afternoon. Today, we are greatly honored and privileged to have somebody who will share her knowledge and expertise regarding play production. Her tips and insights are sure to help us seniors in our activity this coming October. Without further delay, here's Camille Husi to introduce our guest.
Our speaker for this afternoon is a Mass Comm graduate of the USLS. She is the artistic director and moderator of the Mascara Theater and Song, and the artistic director of the Performance Laboratory, a new experimental company which is community-based. She is also the prime mover of TeatroCon, a Western Visayas theater network. She is currently teaching at the USLS Mass Comm Department. 11A and 11B, please welcome Ms. Tanya Lopez.
Thank you, Camille. Good afternoon. I was invited this afternoon to give a talk on how to put up a play. In short, it's play production. So, I would like to share with you that putting up a play is just like creating, baking a cake or preparing for a party. How many of us have had tried baking a cake? Who among you cook? Okay. Has anybody here not experienced putting up a party? So everybody basically knows how to put up a party, right? Okay. So basically, when you put up a play, you want to come up with something that other people will experience. It is something that you put together as a class or as a team, and then you want the audience to experience it. Basically, that is the dynamics of theater. Okay? Theater has three main ingredients. Okay, you have your actor, you have your audience, and you have your area, which is the space where the actor and the audience come together so that they will have this common experience of a play. So if you have a play and you don't have an audience, that is not considered theater. Okay? Or if you have an audience and then you don't have a play, it is still not theater because you don't have anything. But you cannot have an audience and an actor without the space as well. So all of these three things have to come together. But always remember that theater is a sharing of experience. So if we put up a party or if we cook, it's because we want other people to taste our food, right? Or we want other people to enjoy us in the party. So this is what we have to think of when we put the play together. First step in cooking or putting up a play is, first we have to decide what we want, right? What do we want to happen? What do we want to do? In this case, since it is a requirement of our teacher, then what does our teacher require us to do? So what is our output? So we always have to begin with the end in mind. If you want to bake something, what is it that you want to bake? You want to bake a cake. What kind of cake do you want to bake? Diba? Chocolate cake. There are so many cakes, and each cake requires a different kind of recipe. So, once you already have the recipe or the cake in mind, you try to look for the recipe. What do I want to do? Why do I want to bake this cake? So basically, let's also think of the 5 W's. Why? First is what? What do we want to have? Why are we putting up a play? Who are with me, or who is my team? When is this play due, and where is it supposed to happen? Diba? So in this case, what do we want to do? We want to put up a play. What kind of play? Do you want to come up with a comedy? Do you want to come up with a drama? Is it a play with an existing script? Is it a play that is original? Okay, so what kind of play do we want to do? Why do we want to do the play? Why? It's a requirement? Okay, so if it's a requirement, why then would you choose this particular kind of play? Are you already given a script? Yes or no? Yes? But you are allowed to choose a specific script. No. So exactly the same? Anyway, so why that answers? It's a great requirement. But why do we want to do this? We want to make people, to entertain people. We want them to have fun. We want them to experience. Okay. Next is, who is putting this together? So who is part of the team? How many of us are in the team? 50. So one class is required to produce a play. Okay, going back to the what. How long is the play supposed to be? 30 minutes. Okay. So it's a 30-minute play. Is it an excerpt? Is it a one-act play? Is it a 10-minute, 10-minuters? It's a one-act play. Do you already have the plays? What are the titles of the plays? Merchant of Venice. Wow. What's the other one? Antigone. And the other one? The world is an apple. The world as an apple is an apple. And what's the other one? Les Mis. So, looking at your what, you already have 4 different kinds of cakes. Diba? Les Mis is what? It's semi-musical. The World is an Apple is a straight play. Merchant of Venice is Shakespearean, so it has heavy English. And Antigone is written by, it's a Greek play. So you have 4 different types of play. Antigone is Greek, Merchant of Venice is European, World is an Apple is Filipino, and Les Mis, I think, is, I'm not sure if it's Italian, okay, but it's also European. So iba-iba. It's French. And you are required to get a 30-minute excerpt from this. So are you allowed to choose which particular scene or excerpt? Yes. So again, that is your why. Why this particular scene? Why do we want to do the opening? Why do we want to do this scene with a big crowd? Why do we want to do the ending? Why do we want to do this particular song in Les Mis? Diba? So that is your why. And who? Who is the team? This is the class. So we already know each other as classmates. We also know each other's responsibilities. We also know each other's talents and personalities. So this is our who. When is the play? October 12 and 13. That is how far from today? 3 weeks? We have, so from September 19, we have 3 weeks to go. Okay. And where are we going to present the play? In Galiaga Theater. Okay. So these are our realities. So we are expected to come up with an excerpt, a 30-minute excerpt on October 12 and 13 at Galiaga Theater. Okay? Now that we know what is required of us, we move on to the next step. Let us next identify our resources. So what do we have? We have a class of 40 to 45 individuals. That is a lot of people which can help put up together a production. So in this 40 to 45 individuals, you are required to get your actors, your directors, your designers, your production managers, and everybody else. Okay, next is, that is your class. Then, October 12 and 13 are class days. Since you are a class, you have the whole Salle to rehearse. So what time can you rehearse? Because you have only 3 weeks. That's a very limited time. Okay? And Galiaga Theater is already available. So, in Galiaga Theater, in terms of venue, you have your proscenium stage. Were you already able to discuss stages? No. So, proscenium stage is what you call parang your picture frame stage. Okay? There are different types of staging. Okay, we'll move on. So, how do we put the play together? Okay. I need this. Okay. So, once you have everybody, how do you put the team together? So, in the class, what does a play require? First is have the script. When you have the script, next step is to read and understand. Have you already done both? Okay, so part of the understanding is discuss. Okay, and ask a lot of questions. Okay, what is the period of this play? What is the background of this play? Where does it happen? What is the time of day of the play? So when you read, those are the things that we have to consider. Okay, the who are the characters, the when is the period and the time, the where is the place or environment. Okay, so that is again your who, where, and when, and the why. Okay, why did the playwright write this particular scene? What did he want to share to his readers or his audience? So if you wrote Romeo and Juliet, what did he want people to think about or feel? If you wrote The World is an Apple, what about the world is an apple did he want the audience to experience? Diba? Same for the other plays. So, why? Okay, so this is the playwright's vision. And why this particular period or time? Why in the evening? Why in the daytime? Why during the Greek period? Why not Chinese? Okay? And where? Why in the palace? Why in the bedroom? So all of these things, again, have to be considered. After we do this, next is to identify the theme. So when you put up a party or when you create a cake or when you bake a cake, there are different ingredients that you have to put together. So the people behind putting up a production, there are 3 groups, okay? You have your creative, you have your production, and you have your technicals. There's another one which is your house, okay? But at this point, let us not discuss house, okay? So for your creative team, you have several ingredients, okay? First and foremost is you have to decide who your director is, okay? Then the director works with a team of people who will support him. You have your production designer, you have your lighting designer, and you have your sound designer. Now, if you are creating a musical, you will need to have a choreographer and a musical director. What are the assignments of the following people? The director is the head, okay? The overall creative head. He is in charge of creating the vision for the play. So once the director reads the script, he already creates some impressions in terms of what do I see? When I read these lines, what do I feel? What do I hear? But the director is just one part of the production. Okay? He has to have a team of people who will help him put it together, him or her. Okay? So the director has the overall vision, and he has to delegate, or he has to work with his partners in terms of realizing this vision. So he needs to have a production designer. The production designer is in charge of everything that is visual or anything that is seen in the production. So that includes your sets and your costumes. If you have a lot of creative individuals in your class, you might want to divide the work into two areas. You have your set design, which is in charge of environment, and you have your costume designer, which is in charge of what the actors or the characters will wear. So set includes everything that is used and the environment of the play. Costume includes everything that you find in the actor. So that includes his makeup, what he wears, the hairstyle, the shoes, the accessories, even anything that you paint, nail polish, tattoos, piercings, kung kinanglan, those are part of your costume. As long as it's associated with the actor or the character that belongs under costume. As long as it's associated with the environment that belongs to the set. Lighting design, or the lighting designer, is in charge of the mood of the play. So light is a very important ingredient because light will indicate if it's daytime or nighttime. So you can use of different colors, different types of light. You also have to check your resources. Does Galiaga Theater have a lighting system? Okay, kung wala, you might want to put something in there. Okay, and although light comes in at the last part of the production, it's like your icing already, or the cherry in your ice cream. Because if without light, then everything is flat naman. Everything will just look the same. So mood is very important in setting the scene. And your sound designer is in charge of anything that is aural. So that includes the different types of sounds. You have your music or your songs. You also have your ambient sound. What is ambient sound? Ambient sound is the normal sound of the environment or your environmental sound. In this case, what is our ambient sound? We have the electric fan, the droning of the fan, you have the cars outside. So the ambient sound also adds on to the mood of the play. So if it's raining outside, definitely we do not see the rain. So the sound designer will create the feeling of the rain. Or if it's, for example, a windy place or by the seaside, then the sound designer will create waves effect or wind effect. So that provides us with a certain mood. And lastly, you have your sound effects. So if you have a woman screaming in the background, if you have a baby crying, if you have thunder, rain, mga clatters of horses, those are sound effects. Okay? Choreographer is in charge of putting together the dances. So if there is a dance sequence, the director may choreograph or he can get another person to do the choreography. And the musical director takes charge of composing new music which is required of the production. So this is your creative team. Supporting the creative team is your production team. So you have your production manager. The main job of the production manager is to make sure that the deadline is met within the budget allocated for the production. So if ever you entail costs in the production manager makes sure that everything is in order. He reminds everybody of their deadline. So this is due today. Tonight we're going to have a technical rehearsal. What is required by the time. So the production manager, in short, is your troubleshooter. So kung wala sang lights, he is in charge of helping the lighting designer find the lights. If we need to borrow sets and costumes, then the production manager makes sure that either we borrow it, we buy it, we create it, and how to transport it from the place we are borrowing it from and to the venue. At the same time, how to return it afterwards. Okay? And within the budget allocated. Of course, we cannot afford to buy everything or create everything, so we need to borrow. And of course, the deadline, because we only have up to October 13 or October 12. So dapat everything has to be ready by October 11. Next, production supporter is your stage manager. Okay? The stage manager is in charge of all schedules. Okay, this is also related to deadlines. But the stage manager basically supports the director and everything else that the director will need. So the stage manager is the director's right hand. The stage manager is in charge of what you would call as the prompt book. Okay. The prompt book is your script with all the notations for blocking and all the cues for lights, sounds, entrances and exits of props, and costume requirements. So, if you see a prompt book, it says there in your prompt book, at this line, the light would fade in. At this line, it would fade out, but the music would fade in. So the stage manager, during performance time, calls all the shots. That's why in all rehearsals with the director, the stage manager is always taking note. He knows the blocking of each character. What is the blocking? The movement of one character from one part of the stage to another. So the blocking is the character will go to the middle of the stage and then cross to the right to pick up the cup, drink from the water, leave it there, and then say his line. So that is the blocking. The stage manager knows all of that. So that if the director is absent, the stage manager can call for rehearsals. Okay? So the stage manager is in charge of reminding everybody of the schedule so that they are able to meet their deadlines. And reminding everybody of the requirements for lights, sounds, costumes, and sets. Okay? Next is your production group. Okay, so sometimes if the production is very big, you need to have a technical director. Okay, the technical director is in charge of breaking down the large tasks into simpler tasks so that it is doable. Because sometimes if you see a very exotic design, we think na, that's too difficult to do. The technical director's job is to make sure that this can be done separately from this one, and this is the allocated budget, and this is how to execute it. So under the technical director, you have the following areas. You have your sets and props. You have your costume and makeup department. You have your sounds department and you have your lights department. So their job is to execute what the designers have planned. So if the production designer has already done the drawings or the renderings for the set and the costume design, then it is the job of the technical director, with the help of the sets, props, costume, and makeup, to realize those designs, where to find the costumes, how to create those designs. These are the teams or the committees that do it. For the sounds, of course, you support the sound designer. So during the performance, the sounds people or the sounds department will be the ones who will execute the sounds, play the music, execute the sound effects, or play the ambient sound. Same with the lights people. So if there is a lighting board, then the lights people will man it. And lastly, you have your house. So the house is in charge of the usherettes naman, the ushering. So at the time that your audience comes in, then the house manager, together with the ushers and usherettes, welcomes the audience to make them feel comfortable where they're supposed to sit, and tell them that the play is already ready for viewing so that they can set their minds and enjoy the show. Okay? Next, after we have identified the people, okay, we create a schedule. Within the given time frame. So in this case, we only have 3 weeks. So how do we go about it? First is have the script, again, read it and understand it. Next is identify what scene you want to interpret. Remember, you only are given a 30-minute production. So Merchant of Venice is 2 hours. So you only have 30 minutes. That is equivalent to 1 or 2 scenes only from the play. In World is an Apple, that's a 1-act play, so it's exactly almost 30 minutes lang. So you won't have any problems. Once you have identified which scene and your needs or requirements for that scene. So does it need music? What kind of lights? What is the setting? What are the costumes? How many characters are needed? Who are the characters in the scene? Because after that, you have your auditions. Okay? So there are 2 types of audition. You can already typecast or you can open audition. So sometimes when we read a play, as we read the lines of the certain character, we already think na this person is bagay to this character. So we already have ideas na on which of our classmates can portray the role. So that is typecasting. Like if the character is tall and quiet, who is the tall and quiet person in our class? If that is the character is boisterous and happy-go-lucky and merry and gay na person, then who is that character in the class who can match that character? So that is typecasting. Or you can have open auditions. Anybody in the class can audition for the role. So this is more difficult in terms of acting, because if you're a quiet person but you want to do the boisterous role, then you really have to work on your skills. Whereas if you're already the character, what the character is, so then it is easier for you. Okay? Next is you have your readings. Okay? When you do your readings as director, with the cast, the designers may also do their research and design. Okay? Going back to the script, once you have identified the director, you have to ask for his vision. How does he want to do the play? Does he want it to do it on the contemporary na setting? For example, Merchant of Venice and Antigone are period plays. but a lot of modern-day directors also do it in the modern setting. So, do you want to translate it or adapt it to the present setting? Or do you want to do it as it is within the period? So that would require research, because when you talk about costumes, there are certain cuts, there are certain colors that are used on different periods of history. So the director casts, reads, and the designers research and design. After the reading, you have your blocking. And then, you have your execution. So, blocking is identifying stage business and movement of characters. Execution naman, you start already doing the sets, props, costume, makeup, lighting, and sound. So that is preparation. After blocking and execution, you have your run-throughs. Okay, what is a run-through? A run-through is running the whole scene with your stand-in costumes, stand-in props, stand-in sets, stand-in lights, and sounds. Because execution takes time. Also, the actors at this point should know the motivation of the characters. At the same time, they should also know their movements and their lines without holding onto the script. The stage manager can prompt like a word or give them cues in case they forget their lines. But it is very ideal that by the time that you run through, the actors have already memorized their lines. Then, you have your rehearsals. Rehearsals, what is the difference between a run-through and a rehearsal? A run-through is by scenes, a rehearsal is running the whole show already. So the rehearsals already has your final sets, costumes, lights, and sound. So you rehearse them. I'm sorry, it's baliktad. First you have your rehearsals, and then you have your run-throughs. Okay? A run-through is running the whole play with all the other elements. A rehearsal is just blocking. So you rehearse the scene, you polish it. Okay? And lastly, you may want to have a preview or your critics night. So in the preview or critics night, it can be a general rehearsal with costumes, lights, and sounds, and then you might want to invite teachers or artists to come and comment on your play so that if there is something that you missed, these people can give you feedback on how to tighten your production. And after the preview, you cure, okay, you make the necessary adjustments, and then you are ready for your show. Okay, so these are the steps that you have to follow. Now, again, let us look at the time frame. You only have 3 weeks. So the production manager has to fit all of these steps within how many days? 3 weeks, 21 days. Okay, so you have to schedule your rehearsals, date, time, where you're going to rehearse, how much time do you have. As director, you also have to think, like, I have a 30-minute play. So 30 minutes in 21 days. And everybody else. So you have to have deadlines for this. Your schedule can be very flexible. That depends on your class, on your director, on your designers and managers. So you might want to allot 3 days for this. Okay, readings and research, another 4 days. So this will encompass your first week. And then you have to spend more time for blocking and execution. So this might consist your second week, and on your third week, you will have your run-throughs and rehearsals. So that's more or less equivalent to 21 days. Now, if you've broken it down into weeks, you can already identify. Day 1, on first week, you can have your script reading and discussion. How much time would you need for that? A 30-minute excerpt, so basically, can 1 hour, 2 hours suffice? So that's 2 hours on day 1. And then your requirements, that's your production needs, that is on day 2, that is another hour. And on day 3, you have your additions, another hour for that, or 2 hours. So that would really depend on you and how much time you have. And when can you put it in your class schedule or within your class schedule. And the next is you have your readings and your research. You have 4 days to do this. So maybe you can break it down again into bits and pieces. So create your own production. It's very flexible. Last is budget. So all productions will entail cost. Okay, that would depend on your designers. So I will not discuss budget very thoroughly. But once you already have identified what you want to do, you also have to break it down in terms of needs. Because when you transport, for example, you may think nga, we're just borrowing from our parents, but even if you borrow, that will entail transportation. So you might need to transport, diba? Or you might need paints lang to refurbish something. So break it down and identify how much would it cost. And once you have your budget, where are you going to get your budget? Are they given a budget, Miss T? No. So you have to be very resourceful. As an artistic director of a theater company, which is school-based, I have this motto, which I always share with my students. Creativity need not be expensive. Okay? For us to come up with a wonderful production, it does not have to spend, it does not have to cost thousands of pesos. You can have a set or a costume that looks like 5,000 pesos, but in fact, you only spent 50 pesos or 500 pesos because you just borrowed, put it together, and you planned everything. So, be creative, be resourceful. It does not need to be expensive. At the same time, expense can be lessened if there is planning. If you sit down, plan, identify your needs, create your schedules and your deadlines, then it's not going to be very expensive because you have delegated and assigned the assignments to your class. But if you don't plan, at the last minute you will remember, I will need this pagali, go get it. So go buy it. And then, the next thing you know, when this person comes back, I will need pagali extra paint. So, the time and energy that is used, okay, is not the only, are things to be considered. Class, let's also think that cost is not only money, okay? When you think of cost, you also have to consider time and energy. So, a gallon of paint may only cost 300 pesos. Okay, and going to the construction supply shop and coming back, if you have cars, then it's actually no cost for you. But if you're going to take a cab, that's another 100 pesos. So that's 400 pesos. But the time that is going to cost you, for example, you have to come from the Salle, it's traffic, you have to go to the construction shop, that's 1 hour, and 1 hour coming back, that's 2 hours already, that everybody is waiting for that gallon of paint. And the energy that everybody spends waiting. So if all the materials are there, when you start executing your sets and your costumes, then everything is done on time, it's cost efficient, it's time and energy efficient, and everybody is happy. Okay? Are there any questions? It's time already. One example that I'd like to share with the class. As of now, we have a production in the Galiaga Theater. The play is Batang Pro. It's about 3 child prostitutes. If you have time to watch the play, go and watch the play. If you don't want to watch it, you're not required to watch it. But if you have time to take a peek in Galeana Theater, you will see our sets. What we have done is we covered the whole stage, the whole proscenium stage. And we have a playground inside the stage area. So, if you ask me how much did it cost, it cost less than 10,000 pesos, but the whole stage is painted. Some people have been thinking, like, how much did it cost to put together the whole design for the stage? It looks expensive, but it's not, because again, we planned. We also tried to borrow. Instead of creating a playground set, we just borrowed. So we also saved money for that. And then instead of building the whole playground and the whole stage, we just used pelon, the cheapest type of cloth, and dressed the stage and just painted it with latex paint. So that's savings, and we were able to do it in 10 days. So again, creativity does not have to be expensive. Okay, are there questions? Yes.
What are the characteristics of a good director?
Okay, a good director has to have vision. Okay, when I talk about vision, he has to see the whole play in his mind. That's vision, and how it will look like on performance. So, for example, he already has the scene. He has the scene. He hears he hears the lines being said. He hears the music. He feels the mood of the play. Second, a good director has to be patient. Remember, you are dealing with your team. You have a lot of people underneath you. Okay, you have your designers, you have your actors, you have the production people. So people will be asking all kinds of questions because you have the vision in your head. Okay, so you have to be very patient. Third, a good director knows how to delegate. Okay, you know how to pass on assignments to experts. A theater is a group project. So all of us are experts here. As director, you are the leader of the group, and a good leader knows how to make the most out of his team members. So if you have a person who's very good with lights, leave the lighting decisions to him. If you already assigned this person to be a production designer, let him handle the research, the colors, the cuts, whatever is required of a production designer. Let your sound designer do what he needs to do. And let your production manager take care of you. Okay? Those are the attributes of a good director. Next? Other questions? Last addition for a director, you must not be afraid to get angry. You have to be strict because you have a play to execute. Okay, that is your responsibility. So, friends are friends, but work is work. Okay, it's not personal. Are there other questions?
Which is better, having a single set for the entire play or having different sets for every scene?
That would depend on your play. Because a certain, like Shakespeare plays, happens in different types of settings. Right? Whereas The World is an Apple just happens in one particular place. But again, think of your resources. You only have 30 minutes. If you're going to have plenty of settings or different settings and it will take you 3 minutes to change set, that's 3 minutes out of your play already. So you might want to have different settings, but you can divide the stage area into different environments. So for example, you have 5 settings for a specific play. So you can assign that area as the bedroom, this area as outside of the house, that area as the mountains, this area as the seashore, and you can have different kinds of backdrop. In our case, for example, in Batang Pro, the play that we're doing now, there are 8 different settings for the play. But since it's impossible for us to bring in every different kind of set for each scene, what we decided to do is to have a universal set. So we set the play in a playground. And then just gave it different moods. So if it's daytime, then it's bright. If it's nighttime, then it's nighttime. And then the backdrop also suggested on the setting. So on the seashore, we put the slide so that they have the feeling of they are on top of a seawall and then there's water underneath. So it can be very suggestive and minimalist. So there are 2 different types of doing a play. It can be realistic or unrealistic. So you can have unrealistic sets if you are required to have different settings. So pwede na one chair or a throne to just a king's chair to represent the throne. It doesn't have to be a king's court. So you can also save money.
Miss Tanya, I'm sorry, but I think the 11A will have their class mass.
Okay.
Are you still amenable entertaining the questions of 11B while 11A will just leave for now? Because I think some of the 11B members are still wanting to ask questions. Is that all right?
I can spare 10 minutes more for
10
11.
minutes more. May I request Nadine to please give our token of appreciation to Miss Tanya. And thank you and goodbye 11A. Be sure to hand in your homeworks.
Thank you.
Your two,
Thank you.
the index card, and then your questions. Goodbye 11A. Pass that side quietly.
11B, do we have questions? Yes.
May I request Jude Colette to homework. Proceed to the chapter for now. Pass the homework later. Miss Wu?
Good afternoon. If you're an actor, miss, how can you effectively play your role?
Okay. First, you have to study the character. As an actor, your job is to give life to the character of the play. So the first step is to read the script. Okay? Once you have read the script, understand the lines. Okay? Again, think of the following questions. Why is the character saying this line? The next step after reading the script is to create a character profile. So what I usually do to my actors, I give them an assignment of filling up an autograph. Okay? What if? Buy a cheap autograph in any of the bookstores, and if you have a certain character, then create an autograph for that character. So it will give you a reality of what he is. Because a character is different from who you are as an actor. For example, your character is already a father, but you are still what? Students. So, if you are a father, what is the background of this character? How old is he? When is his birthday? Because birthdays can also mean something to us, di ba? In Chinese calendar, I think it matters if you're a monkey, a sheep, or a goat, or a horse. In our case naman, we have our horoscopes, if you're Leo, or Taurus, or Aries. So, the birth date of the character may mean something. Who are you married to? Why did you marry that woman? How many children do you have? What do you do for a living? Why is your character a businessman? Why is he an architect? Is it already given in the script? Okay? There are different ways of breaking down character. One way of finding out who the character is depends on the director's notes or the scriptwriter's notes. So, in some scripts, you may read there that the character is 45 years old, businessman, father of 2. So that is already a given. But there are some scripts that do not have those. Okay? So how else would you be able to know what the character is? You can base a character, you can find out the background of the character based on the words that he says. Okay, if he says nga, I just had a long day from the office, definitely he is an office person. Or my students were pretty tiring today, so that is a teacher. Or what other people say about him. So what do the other characters in the play say about this character? So for example, his two children are talking and will say na, I just hate dad, he never listens to me. So what does it tell you about the father? Okay, so that is your job as an actor. Research the background of the character and then try to understand the character. Why does he say this line? Why is he angry? Why is he mad? Okay, because once you understand all of those things, then that will help you come up with a foundation for the character. And then, don't worry about the emotions, because if you understand the lines, the emotions will just come out. Other questions? Yes. Okay, what happens in an audition? Basically, an audition gives us a chance to listen to different actors who are willing or who want to do the role. So in case you are the director and you already have pre-casted or typecasted the characters, then you may want them to read the lines. Why do you want them to read the lines? Because once they read the lines, you will know what is the capability of the actor. So in an audition, you find out how the actor looks, if he has the capacity to go into the emotional range of the character, how the actor sounds. If you are the director, does the actor sound like the character? Or is he capable of getting into the character? Because that is one way of doing it. What do we do in auditions? We let the actors read the lines. Okay? It will help if you already make them read the lines of the script or of the character that you want them to portray. Next is, you might want to put them in a scene. For example, if you are saying this line after a long day at work, how are you going to say it? That is testing the emotional capability of the actor or his ability to get into character. Because some of us can be good actors, but once we're given a line, we have difficulty in terms of doing it. So as director, it's our job to find out what the actor does. Also, it will allow you to gauge, how much time you will need to work on a certain actor. For example, a certain person looks perfect for the role, but he is extremely shy. He wants to do it, but he needs a lot of work and he's willing to work. So as a director, you already know na I'll spend more time with this person. Or a certain actress naman niya is very good, but she doesn't want to do the role. Those are things that you have to consider because you have classmates nga, ay, perfect ni siya, but hindi ko yan pinahuya. So you might want to convince her. On the other hand, there is another classmate who doesn't look like the role, who's not typecast, but is willing to work. So those are the things that you have to consider. Ang chemistry mo man with the actors, like can I work with him? Is it difficult to work with? Does he listen to instructions? Does he follow or she follow instructions? Those are things that you need to think of as a director if you're going to audition. As an auditionee, for example, you